Good morning, everyone. Jim Clark here at the Synchronicity Sanctuary in Central Virginia to share another contemplation with you this fine Monday morning from Central Virginia. So, the contemplation I want to share with you today is seeking the truth is like looking for spectacles sitting on your nose. The only view that can reveal your truth is hidden inside yourself. Meditate and open your eyes. And this is what I've been doing here for many, many years. And my eyes have been opened many, many times and continue to be open more and more every day. So it's not a secret, it's not rocket science, it's simply understanding the context of human life and what it's here for. What is your life all about, really? So, from the holistic perspective, there is only one blissful consciousness. And that blissful consciousness is evolving itself and updating itself through all the forms of itself. All and everything that is on Earth, including the planet and the universe, is the same source consciousness. It is the source, it is the essence of all that is, and that includes you. But to realize this, to gain the experience of yourself in that way, you have to bring balance to your experience. And the only way to do that is to realize that we are in a polarized existence here. That as a human being, we have a positive and a negative polarity that is always changing and always revolving, but always present. And no polarity can exist without its opposite, and yet they're constantly changing. So it's a very dynamic, creative impulse that is human life, that is all of life. And in order to bring yourself to that realization to where you can validate this for yourself experientially, meditation is a necessary balancing tool and has been for thousands of years in the human experience. It's simply taking what is a dominant default polarity because we're in human form. We have densified ourselves into human form, and we have our five senses from which we gather information. And that to do that, we constantly keep a focus that goes outside of ourselves. We look for everything outside of ourselves to survive, to find love, for any kind of fulfillment. We look outside. And that constant externalized focus is what keeps us in a mental dimensional dominance. This is the thinking mind. This is the mind that's constantly trying to grasp what's going on and understand what's going on, and the mind that judges, the mind that assesses, the mind that tries to create a you that is not real. And the only way to pull away and gain some distance within yourself so that you can access a different and more comprehensive, unified perspective of who you really are is to take your externalized focus and start to bring it inside. This is what meditation is. It's simply sitting and diminishing your five senses and that kind of input. You close your eyes, you get in a quiet space, and if you use our high-tech synchronicity meditation, you also have the advantage of playing a soundtrack that has a embedded technology in it which entrains your mind into a meditative brainwave profile. And so you can meditate irregardless of what you are thinking, because the mind is not difficult to tame. It likes to think. It's been thinking. It's been your friend for so many years, and now all of a sudden you're going to try to pull away and stop the mind. Good luck. I know that my mind does what it does, and the only way that I could ever diminish my own thinking and be able to remain in a state of non-thinking was simply to observe myself internally in meditation. Rather than reacting and giving my power to the mind, I would simply observe and allow whatever thought arises to play itself out and then stop. Even if another thought comes up, it's all just like clouds in the sky floating by. And I, the observer of the thoughts, become more and more present as an observer to my thoughts. And as an observer, there is a distance that I have created between what thoughts are arising and myself. It's a very subtle kind of a process in the beginning, and it's hardly distinguishable until you practice for a while. But that distance and that perspective grows and grows until pretty soon the presence that is the witness, that is you, becomes more and more palpable, more and more experiential, and it's energetic. It brings an energy that I cannot define, but I would say it's the essence of who we are and what life is, and it's a very loving, uplifting energy, and that energy is who and what we are. In form. We're animating our human forms with the essence of who we are, unaware of where that's coming from and what that is until we start to meditate, which is why my teacher always said, meditate, meditate, meditate. When it comes right down to all the teachings and all the practices throughout history that one can study and learn from books and from teachers, nothing's going to open that door for you unless you meditate, unless you follow a practice daily and devote enough time to that practice to start to pull your default dominant polarity of the external into the internal, until you develop that space between what arises in yourself and the witness of that. So you develop what we call a witness consciousness, where you become conscious of the fact that you're witnessing your thoughts, you're witnessing whatever's going on. In this case, right now, I'm witnessing doing this live stream. I'm witnessing myself giving this live stream. I'm witnessing all of it. But at the same time, simultaneous to my witnessing, there's also an energetic component to my being, which is growing and growing because I've cultivated through meditation, wherein I'm expanding as I'm speaking. I am in what we would call meditation as I'm speaking, because it's something I have developed and cultivated for many years, and so now it has established itself as my new normal. I go through life day after day, moment to moment, in a state of meditation, which is constantly being expanded because I keep my practice going every day. And from this, the truth that I used to seek is the truth that I now experience. And the truth that I experience keeps me in the game, because it's become more easy for me to manage that state of being and that perspective and that experience as a constant, rather than a little taste of it here and a little taste of it there, which is what I had in the very beginning when I first started to meditate. And that's normal, because when you first begin to meditate, you're starting from ground zero, so to speak. The default dominant negative polarity of the external, of the contracted human form as you, is very strong. It's an extremely powerful illusion in this world, because we as consciousness are in an extremely densified arena of experience as human beings. We don't realize this until we start to meditate. We don't realize it until we experience moments of who we are in terms of consciousness. But when you do, the joy, the bliss, and the experience of touching upon your truth is it's a revelation. It's a revelation for yourself, to yourself, for the sake of yourself. And this is the human journey. And this is basically what we see life as. What we're here for is to evolve from unconscious to conscious, to become consciously aware of who we are truthfully. And when you do, and as you do, you start to realize that this is all there is here. Everything that we used to see as separate from us is not separate from us. It's our own creation. We are creating our own reality from moment to moment to moment. And as such, we do so by putting a focus on whatever we might choose to focus upon. And that greatly determines what kind of an experience and reality that we're going to create. So if you keep your focus on something very negative and fear-based and contracting, this is what you're going to be developing in yourself as your experience. It won't be real, but it will be real for you. And so as you meditate and as you go inside, as you begin to develop the momentum of the positive polarity within yourself and your own experience, you become more and more aware of how you create your own reality and how you have created your own reality. You become aware of beliefs and about who you are that were formed very early in your life. Because as you expand, all this contracting information that you used to have in you as you is cleared out. It can't remain because it's not any longer commensurate with how you experience yourself. You can't experience yourself as the enlightening being that you are and still hang on to some idea that you're some limited human individual. At one stage of the game, in somewhat respects, we are always a human being with limitations. We have bodies, and those bodies have limitations. We live in the world, and the world is a physical world, and physical worlds need separate things, separate entities, separate creations to create the diversity of unity that we have in the world today. So there is the illusory truth, and it has a reality of its own, which we experience by default as the dominant. As we meditate and expand and begin to experience the truth of who we are, as we begin to validate that we are more than we have ever been, that we are much more than simply human, we begin to realize that our human experience is the great gift that has allowed us to discover who we are as we are still living a human experience. So it might be illusory, it might not be ultimately true, but the human experience is the vehicle through which we have sought out our truth. First we looked outside, then we start to look inside. And when we go inside, what happens is our mind decelerates and slows down. And as it slows down, eventually it quiets down to the point where another intelligence that's always been with us and within us, the heart, begins to communicate. Because when our minds are constantly busy and focused on the external world, the messaging and the communication we have to a more subtle, more holistic part of ourself simply cannot be heard. So meditate, meditate, meditate. This is the only way that I know of that one can ultimately discover who they are, the truth of who they are, and validate that for themselves experientially. Then you are the teaching. Because once you establish that constant experience at any level of that experience, it's not just something you do and then it's done. It keeps evolving as well. But once you tap into that and establish that as a constant in your life, the truth of who you are is always in your experience. That vibrational, energetic presence that you are is now palpable, and it grows and grows and grows. So you're more of a witnessing consciousness as you meditate. And once you get to that point, meditation isn't something you have to do, it's something that you want to do, because it's the one activity that you can engage in, if you will, that will increase your awareness and allow you to expand even more and to become more and more of what you are, which has no limits whatsoever. So that is what I wanted to share with you today. A simple practice of meditation, irregardless of what kind it is going to benefit you greatly if you practice it every day, if you give it the time you need to give to start to grow the positive polarity experience within yourself. So that's what I wanted to share. I hope this has helped you in some way, and I will be back again. I'm not sure exactly when, because we have a program coming up, so it might be a couple of weeks before I do another one of these live streams, possibly next week, but we're just not sure yet. But you'll get a notification by email if we do. So with that, I bid you adieu until next time. Meditate, meditate, meditate. Thank you.